All right, we're back Southwest Florida. Without further ado, I need to try to get this tie together. Now y'all know this is live. Got Dr. Nixon here. She's a professor at Nova Southeastern University, and she's been doing a lot of great work around the United States as it relates to diversity and inclusion. So we're delighted to have her here as a first-time guest on the show. Dr. Nixon, we'll ask you to pick up your cup and do our traditional toast to the first-time guest. Put it back down, and now we roll.
Wow.
Well, first of all, how did you, the whole idea of diversity and inclusion is, pretty high in national spotlight now because we have an African-American president, and a whole lot of discussion went on around that, and all these cable shows start doing, what's going on in this community, that community. Right. But to me, it seems like oftentimes when people think about diversity, they think about African Americans and Hispanics.
Okay.
Or is that the best way to look at diversity?
No, that is a very limited way of looking at diversity. And by the way, thank you for having me on the show.
My pleasure.
No, diversity is about any kind of difference. It's about gender, it's about age, it's about just any kind of height. It could be size, anything that distinguishes one person from another. We're talking diversity, the way you think, the way you look at the world. And I have to just say that our excitement about diversity really was way before our new president.
Right.
Of course, his presence bring another discussion to that topic, but diversity, especially well, I'm from South Florida, is bigger than that, and we have so many different ways that we have to figure out how we're going to live with each other, how we're going to get along. So at Nova, I teach a course called Diversity, and it is a state-required course for people who are training to be marriage and family therapists. And out of teaching that course, I realized that there was so much more to what I was doing, and I went to my dean and I said, this is working, I'm changing lives, I'm transforming people's ways of looking at the world, and he said, well then let's make this bigger, and then we made a university effort. That's
a good point you're making. Let me dig into that a little bit. The fact that at Nova Southeastern University, they have a course that you're teaching around that particular topic. Is that trailblazing for a university, or in your studies and travels, are many universities bringing that type of discussion to the curriculum?
Yeah, it is not new. Everybody across the country is doing it. And that's mainly because America, in about 2010, will be primarily a brown country. There will be more people of color in this country than there are white people.
Okay, we talk about diversity here in America to ad nauseum. The outside of the United States, other continents, is the topic as prevalent?
I don't think I think it's an issue, but it's not the same issue. Because we are such a free society, we're talking gay and lesbian families. We talk about the aged people needing representation. So we have a lot more issues, unless we just know about our issues and we don't know about other people's issues. But I would say this, I went to Uganda a couple of years ago and I taught diversity there. Now can you imagine that? But what they discovered is that what we call racism, they call tribalism. So this we are better than you are exists in lots of different ways. And as we went through that course, they discovered that, they too have lots of issues of diversity that they hadn't even thought about. So I kind of started a discussion so that they can start looking at their relationships in a different way as it pertains to difference. So when we talk about diversity, we're just talking about difference.
Now, when we see your title, we see that you use diversity and inclusion. Is that a subset of diversity and inclusion, or are they two separate entities in their own
Diversity
right?
is the what, inclusion is the how. Inclusion is how are we going to deal with our difference. Inclusion, I think, gives a broader perspective on what we talk about when we talk about difference. It is what are you going to do now that you know that you're different gender-wise, ethnicity-wise, now that you know that you're dealing with a person who's 10 years older than you, but they have to answer to you, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to be inclusive in the way you deal with them? And so that initiative on our campus, we call it Do Something Different. That has to do with, we know we're a diverse campus. Now, how are we going to be inclusive, given that we have all these people from different parts of the world? Most of our students are adult learners, and we're just beginning to grow our undergraduate departments. And so we're just trying to figure out how in the world we're going to deal with the difference that we know exists in the world. And it could be anything from whether I should be a stay-at-home mom or whether I should go back to school. And if I go back to school, will you look at me like I'm stupid because I'm just not getting my BA? Those kinds of things are diversity issues and inclusion issues.
Now, you're real passionate about your Do Something Different that's happening at Nova Southeastern University. You know, tell our viewing audience about Do Something Different. Okay.
It came out of lots of discussion about diversity. We have these monthly discussions we call diversity dialogues. And around the IMUS, Michael Richards kind of, you remember the whole IMUS thing? When that happened,
college girls.
Exactly.
Basketball players.
From Rutgers. So we said, you know, it's good for us to talk about this, but what are we going to do to impact, to make something happen differently? And so they said, you know, whatever it is, Deborah, whatever you do, we're on board, we're coming back. So the next time we met, I said, let's call this Do Something Different. And what it means is that when we find ourselves in situations where we normally would not ask a question, normally would not talk to someone we don't know, normally would not engage someone who's not like us, we're just going to challenge ourselves to do something different, whatever that difference is. And so we made it an entire initiative on our campus. I created a survey to find out like a baseline understanding of where people are now, because it's my assumption that we need to be more inclusive, but if we do some kind of study, some kind of inquiry, then we can find out if people really are feeling like they're not being included. And we're talking religion too.
And what was the results of this study?
Well, so far, we haven't done the analysis of it yet, but so far it's looking really good. Because we have a part where people check and say, yes, I have been discriminated or felt discriminated against because of my age or my gender or what have you. And then we have a section where people get to talk about, they get to give us their voice on their ideas. And I've read some of the information, and some students are saying, yes, they do feel like they can't talk about religion in the classroom, or they can't talk about religion, their faith, and that kind of thing. So that involves inclusion as well. So people are saying, yes, this is a need, and personally thanked me for giving them the opportunity to express themselves in that way. Now,